All right, good evening. What we've got here, what we're going to do real quick tonight is a quick run through of Chapter 3, Lesson 1. The PowerPoint that we had for the lesson. I'm not going to hit everything. We're just going to kind of breeze through it real quick, just as it might give you a bit of a review from what we covered. If you missed a day, be sure to get the lecture outline. You can kind of fill in the blanks and go as you need to. So, let's get started. Today we're going to talk a little bit about why did people come to the New World? What drew them to come there? We're going to trace and explain the founding of Jamestown. We're going to talk a little bit in a nutshell about the conflict between the Native Americans and the colonists. They had conflict, but they also had a little bit of cooperation. And we're going to locate and identify the first of the 13 colonies. Now, Jamestown was the first successful colony in North America. Now, we talked before about Roanoke Island. Didn't go so well. We don't know what happened there. It's still a mystery today. They are finding, through archaeological digs and stuff like that, finding out some things, trying to piece it together, but we still truly don't know what happened. We've talked about that already, but today we're going to focus a little bit on Jamestown right here. Jamestown, 1607, they come in the Chesapeake Bay area. We'll talk a little bit more about geography in a second. Now, some reasons why in the world they want to come to America. Well, word of mouth, information about America is out there. Effective work and writing by recruiters. I'll show you a little propaganda here in a little bit, a pamphlet that was handed out. The appeal of land and economic opportunities. Now, this one here is the main reason for Jamestown. There are the pursuit of personal religious beliefs. This is more towards Plymouth, Pennsylvania, other areas, colonies that were founded later on. Today with Jamestown, a lot of it is due to the effective writing of recruiters, the desire, and the appeal of land and economic opportunities. That's it. Now, why would they want to leave Europe? There's a lot of things going on over there. One of the main things for Jamestown that falls into play is the dismay over the economy, the need for farmland. The cities were compact. People were just jammed into the cities. Farmland was a little bit scarce there. Also, the relief of joblessness or personal adversity. Another reason they want to get out of there, restlessness and the desire for adventure. For a lot of people, the thought of packing up, moving across the ocean and becoming rich at the time, or at least that was the dream, was very appealing to them. Now, we'll talk more about this later on in class. If you missed it, sorry, we'll catch you up. But what's going on already? The Spanish are coming in this area. They've already been down in Mexico, Central America, parts of South America, settling. You covered that last year in 7th grade. They're working their way up the west coast. The French will eventually come in. We'll get to them later. Today, we're talking about the English and where they go. Now, Roanoke Island again, we've talked about it. We've covered it. We'll talk a little bit more in class later on. Tonight, we're going to focus on Jamestown, the founding of it. 1607. When they came in, you could tell they're different from other colonies for the pure fact that it's 96% adults, 4% children. They were coming there for a purpose. They weren't coming to resettle, to build farms, not at first at least, to build farms and make new lives. They were coming to get rich. The thought and dream of gold was huge with them, and that's what they were looking for. Now, how does geography influence the way people live? For Jamestown, geography influenced as to where they were and the lives that they led afterwards. And we'll talk about that when we show the map. Now, Jamestown, when they came in, they could have settled in any of these areas. They picked the James River to come into. You can't settle, life would have been a lot harder if they would have settled in these areas here, for the pure and simple reason that you need fresh water to live. This is the Atlantic Ocean, salt water. So they came up the James River. This clouded area you see here would have been pretty much the area of the brackish water, where the salt water and fresh water mixed together. You really can't live too well off of that. So what they did is they came to the area where they figured the water was fresh and stopped there. The only problem with it is when they settled in the Jamestown area, they find that they settled within a marsh. So there's a lot of disease. There's a lot of mosquitoes in the area. Also, another issue that they had, forgive the pronunciation, but I'm sure I'm getting it wrong, but they landed right in the middle of the Powhatan Confederacy. This right here was the Powhatan Confederacy. All the area in purple. Each of these resembled, they were Indian settlements. throughout the area. All these different settlements, and all of a sudden they pop up right here in Jamestown, set up camp, right in the middle. This will bring conflict throughout the years. Now, why did it succeed? As you're going to see here in a little bit, it succeeds for a couple different reasons. One is once they finally discovered tobacco that John Roth brings in with him, it starts growing, it grows well there, the economy flourishes there. At first, the only thing that keeps it alive are the constant boats coming in, the new arrivals. Death, disease, Native American attacks, the starving time, which we're going to talk about, all took its toll on the population. Now, the Virginia Company, the settlers at Jamestown, Virginia, built a fort with 3 walls rather than 4 to make it easier to defend. Makes a lot of sense. They didn't have that many people, so 3 points are a lot easier to defend than 4. This is just giving you an idea of the layout with the houses, the common area, the water well, and here was the cannon and other defenses in the area. Now, 1606, several groups of merchants sought charters from King James I in order to establish colonies. The Virginia Company, a joint stock company, one of your words to know, established in Jamestown. Now, to give you a better idea of what a joint stock company is, it means I could buy shares in the company. I would give them money for a percentage of it, and then whenever they brought the riches back over to England, I would get my share of that. Now, Captain John Smith helped out. He helped them survive the first year, a couple of years there at Jamestown. It was very rough, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. Now, this right here, let me put it to you in a nutshell. 1607, they had visions of easy wealth. They were going to get off this boat, and they were going to find gold. Just like that. They were going to be rich. Now, they go there, they had very little agricultural experience, and instead of bringing supplies that they needed, instead of bringing livestock and stuff like that, they brought stuff for gold. Gold testing materials, mining materials, stuff like that. Now the local Native Americans at the time were very unwilling. They would not labor for them. They were not going to grow their crops for these people. Few survived the first difficult winters. Captain John Smith, he'd been a soldier, an explorer, an adventurer, and with the colony near chaos, he took over. And he did something that a lot of people did not like. It was successful, but he was not liked for it. He put in a policy of rigid discipline and agricultural cultivation. Basically, he set the laws, you followed them. He told you to work. If you wanted to eat, you were going to do your fair share and work for it. Now, there's a gunpowder accident that forces his return to England in 1608. The colonists are faced with the disastrous winter known as the starving time. Now, what happens when he leaves? They had food stores. Now, they didn't have a lot, but they had enough that if they would have actually rationed it out, they could have made it through the winter. What they did, let me give you an idea. You go buy a foot-long sub at Subway. You split it into 3 pieces, 4 inches apiece. For breakfast, you eat 1 piece. For lunch, you eat another, and for dinner, you finish it up. Now, you're not necessarily going to be full, but you're going to have food. That's rationing it out. Instead, they basically ate the foot long for breakfast. By lunch, they were kind of hungry, and by dinner, right in the thick of wintertime, they were starving. Now, like I said, it got so bad, this is a horrible picture, but it just shows you part of the story. It got so bad that they ate their belts, they ate their shoes, they ate the leather that they had. They had already killed the horses, the other animals that were there with them. It resulted to almost near cannibalism for some. They burned one man at the stake because he killed his pregnant wife and had planned on eating her. They got wind of it. They put him on the stake, set him on fire. Just a historically bad rendition of it. Now, to tell you some of the things, even while the starving time is going on, there's still publications going out about how great it is over there. Now, one thing I want to point out here, let's see if there's a date on there, 1609, they're still getting Indian attacks. The starving time's coming in. It's not going good. There's death from disease, but they're labeling it as exciting. Something fun to do, an adventure. To give you a breakdown, it started out in 1607 with 105 people. And you can see the population goes up every time there's new arrivals. The problem is there's death from disease, there's Indian attacks. By the end of the starving time, there were 90 left. At one point, they'd been up to 381. New arrivals come in, 375. Disease, Indian attacks, departures. People are saying, I'm done, I'm going back. More Indian attacks, down to 152. New arrivals start coming in. And you just start seeing it's a roller coaster ride. 1622, you can see the word of the tobacco is growing. Because right here, in this group of new arrivals, Rolfe comes with him. And when he comes in, he brings tobacco seeds with him. Spain had the stronghold on the tobacco industry. It was being grown Mexico area, Central America, around in there. They were growing the tobacco. Spain had the monopoly. Somehow, he got a bag of it. He got a bag of the seeds, which would have been punishable by death in some places. Nobody knows how he got it, but he did, and it grew very well in that area. Now, with this growth of tobacco and the things turning around, he also marries Pocahontas. Now, I used the example in class. If I'm the chief, somebody marries my daughter, I'm going to do my best to help take care of her and that family. Well, it kind of changed relations a little bit. The Native Americans became a little more cooperative and traded more with them. One issue that the Native Americans had throughout the time was they wanted guns. They wanted these guns that the colonists had. The colonists would not trade with them, so there was always a little tension because of that. Now, sorry to ruin your dreams, but Pocahontas was not this. Pocahontas was not this, contrary to what Disney wants you to believe. Pocahontas didn't marry Smith either, the big barrel-chested, blonde-haired, muscular guy. Well, I showed you a picture earlier. He wasn't any of those. She married Rolfe. This is actually a picture or a portrait that was painted of Pocahontas when she went to England. Rolfe takes her back to England, and she's an instant hit there. Of course, they dress her up in the English garb. Ladies, imagine wearing this at a time when there is no air conditioning and deodorant is not around. Not too good. But this is a picture of her. This picture gets out and is circulated. Copies are made and it circulates, and she becomes just insanely popular in England and Europe. Now, land ownership was expanded when the Virginia Company started giving head rights of 50 acres to settlers who paid their way to the colony. You buy your ticket, you get over there, and you get 50 acres. It's a great deal. It excited a lot of people. The thought of being able to get 50 acres is a lot of land, people. Think about it. You buy your ticket, you go there, and all of a sudden, this 50 acres is yours. Now, the thought of some people wanting to get rich, some people want to go start families by this point, but then the thought of, hey, I can take this 50 acres and I can plant tobacco and become rich, drew a lot of people. And comparing the fact that England was so, the towns were so packed with people and farmland was scarce, the thought of getting 50 acres really enticed a lot of people. Now, the House of Burgesses met in 1619. They were representatives of the colony's towns. The House of Burgesses, along with the governor, made laws for Jamestown, becoming the first representative government in the English colonies. It's what we have today. What's a representative government? Well, it's a government in which voters elect representatives to make laws for them. Similar to what we have today. We elect our senators, our congressmen, our state representatives, you name it. If it's a political office and they're elected, they are elected to do the bidding that we want them to do. We vote for people with the same ideals and stand for the same things, and they're to go to Washington or to go to our state capital and make that happen. It's supposed to. This was the same. Let's go on to this. Why was it important? Well, it was the first form of representative government in the colonies. Later becomes, you could say it evolves into what we have today as a representative government. You've seen this. Now, the way it worked, King James, he was in charge. The governor reported to him, and then the governor would meet with the council and the House of Burgesses once a year, and they'd make laws and impose taxes together. Now, the House of Burgesses was elected. There were 2 people from every county or plantation, and then the council was appointed by the Virginia Company and advised by the governor. So granted, it was 3-2, or 2-1, but you still had some representation. Now, more settlers started coming to Virginia. The colony of Virginia began to prosper due to tobacco. We talked about how he had the seeds with him, and all of a sudden, it just explodes. The first truly large crop they got out of there was actually worth more than $1 million in today's money. So it just shows you that by this point, people had a plot of fertile land. They were doing their best to plant tobacco on it. Now, one more click there. 1619, 20 Africans came to Jamestown. They were sold to Virginia planters to work in the tobacco fields. Now, they may have come as servants and not slaves, but in my mind, if they were sold, that makes them a slave. If they were sold to work. This is the first instance of slavery in the U.S. At this time, the colonies were not the only place slavery was going on. It was worldwide in a lot of instances at this point. Now, as Virginia grew, settlers started to move inland to open up the backcountry. I showed you the map earlier where Jamestown was. They started spreading out. More people coming in and getting head rights, the dream of getting more land. They wanted to explore. They wanted to expand and explore and see what else they could find. The only problem was the Confederacy of Native Americans surrounding them. They had been okay for the most part with Jamestown and some of the settlers coming in. They had worked through a lot of issues, but now all of a sudden they're pushing out into their territories, and that did cause some issue. As a result, the Native Americans started raiding these settlements. So you're starting to see this back and forth a whole lot. Now, we're not going to worry too much today about Nathaniel Bacon. He's in the book, but he's about, 20, 30, 40 years in some instances down the road. We'll talk about him later. Now, just some pictures here. I hope you can see it with the lights on. But just some pictures here. This is the Jamestown site right now. You see the James River. You can see where the 3 defensive emplacements were, and kind of get an idea of the layout or the size of the town. This is some archaeological digging that they've done in the area. You can see they found a grave, some pottery, just a picture of one digging right now, seeing what they can find. This right here is kind of a reenactment, so to say, kind of a model of what Jamestown would have been. You can see the fortifications around it. You can see kind of the common area and the houses in which they might have lived. We'll do this one later. Now guys, I hope it helped. We ran through it fast. Just kind of gave you a rough shot of what we covered and what we discussed. Watch it. Catch up on stuff. Use it as a review. I don't mind doing these. Plan on me doing more, and hopefully with a better camera and a little bit better audio. So thanks for bearing with me. There's more to come. I hope it helped. Good night.